Hi booktube, Aaron here. I hope you're doing okay. Today I've got a bit of a random reading update for you. It's been a little while since I checked in with one of these, and we're about 2 weeks into the month of November, so it's been a bit of a while since I did my wrap up at the end of October. So I thought I'd just check in and go through what I've been reading over the last couple of weeks. I think the first thing I finished since November started, was the Inferno by Dante, and I've been reading the Divine Comedy, or rereading the Divine Comedy, really slowly. I started towards the end of August, and I finished this in the first few days of November, I think. And I definitely enjoyed it a lot more the second time through. Um, it felt much more vivid to me this time. That might be down to the translation. I'm not too sure, but I was certainly noticing a lot more, and yeah, really enjoying it. I had this preoccupation at the beginning. I just couldn't stop thinking about the dark wood at the beginning of the poem that Dante finds himself in. And I was kind of connecting that to like the only other wood that we really find in the Divine Comedy, really, except for like the Garden of Eden later on, is is the circle where the people being punished for suicide are put in the Inferno, and the trees are the souls. And I'm not sure whether I was overreading it and wondering whether Dante was putting himself at the beginning of the poem, um, in a situation of kind of desperation and stuff, and whether there were any kind of parallels between the wood we see at the beginning and the wood a little later on. I'm probably just overreading and going out of my way a little bit. But yeah, there are lots of other interesting sort of parallels you can make, but definitely this time through, although it's kind of obviously a very religious text, it's a pilgrimage through hell, up the mountain of purgatory, and then into heaven. Um, but it's I don't know. I'm not reading it in a particularly religious way. Instead, the political side of the poem is really coming to the fore, and even in the way Dante is talking about particular sins, um, again, I'm seeing it more of someone thinking about how humans live together and how you would want to treat each other. And so, it's very, he is thinking of a civil society and our responsibility to each other, I suppose. And so it's kind of that element that I'm sort of feeling is kind of the most important this time through. But yeah, as I said, really, really enjoying it. And I will be ascending the mountain of purgatory soon, so I'll hopefully start this in the next couple of days. Then in November, it's been Doctor November, which is an event focused on espionage literature, dating from around the time of the Cold War, so from about 1917 through to 1991. And so far I've read one book for this, really, and that's The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John le Carré. And I really liked this book. It's very brutal, very dark, very pessimistic, and it doesn't paint a particularly rosy picture of the West, of Great Britain, and what they're up to. after the Second World War. But it is brilliant and really, really captivating. Um, don't really know what else to say about it really, except it's kind of got a kind of philosophical sort of undercurrent to it, I suppose. Um, sort of the sort of central premise is sort of older or kind of middle-aged British um, or spy um, has had a bad job. His last agent has been killed, and he's thinking he's probably just going to be pushed to one side or put into retirement or something like that. And instead, he's kind of offered a job that's going to be a kind of revenge job, and that's kind of how it's sold to him. But he's got to go over to the other side and sort of pose as a he has to pose as a double agent, be a kind of triple agent. And when he's talking to one of the people at the other side, they're kind of comparing notes on what people are like on either side of the Iron Curtain. And the guy on the other side, he asks this spy what he believes in, what's he actually doing it for, what do people in the West believe in and rally around, and maybe it's as much of a reflection of this character than of the West. He's like, well, not really anything really. They're not Christian. No one's doesn't seem like anyone's that religious. They don't have a political ideology like socialism to unite them. And so that question of what do you believe in, what are you actually doing all of this for, just keeps coming up, and there's no real good answer for it. So yeah, very bleak and depressing, but I really quite liked it. And I was kind of on the edge of falling down a bit of a John le Carré rabbit hole. So straight after finishing that, I picked up Silverview, which is the kind of posthumous le Carré novel. And I still really quite liked it. You could tell it, it wasn't quite as good as the earlier stuff, but I still think it was a very solid novel. Again, it's set in the sort of near present, and it's about an intelligence leak, basically, and sort of ghosts of the past kind of coming back up. And it's most of the action is in a very sleepy seaside town in the off season. Yeah, I did quite like it, but I could tell it wasn't quite up to the same caliber as something like The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. But then I picked something up. Well, there were two reasons. One, I didn't really want to go straight down that le Carré rabbit hole. I wanted a bit of variety. Also, I was a bit sick and didn't have much energy, and the le Carré I wanted to read was upstairs, and this book that I read instead was downstairs, so it was a bit easier to pick it up and start it. And that was The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which was really, really good. I just finished it before making this, and I thought it was brilliant. I think it was mainly the writing and the voice of our narrator, I think, was kind of initially what really attracted me and sort of kept me with the book as I was reading it. But yeah, the characters are really quite intriguing. I felt like it took the first half of the book to be able to properly tell them apart and really kind of get to know them individually. Because our main character kind of first meets the main cast of players all as one group, and he kind of wants to be like them and sort of break into their circle. And so you kind of see them initially as a group, and so at least for me, it took quite a while to actually get to know each one individually. But yeah, the plot is is unrelenting. It's just a downward spiral that you just can't help but keep looking at. And yeah, I'm trying to think of sort of what else I can really say about it. In terms of the style and how it all kind of fits together, in one sense, it very much reminds me of The Great Gatsby, like with what I was saying about our narrator. Not only the kind of the way he's telling the story, but also the way he's trying to break into this very select friendship group at his college. It does kind of remind me of the obsession of Nick Carraway towards Gatsby, and so there's that kind of element to it, but as well very much reminded me of Crime and Punishment, as a terrible act takes place, and actually many more terrible acts and sort of strange things happen. And it's sort of very much about the consequences and how, I suppose, because it's dealing with a group of people, it's how different people react differently to it. So it's quite fascinating in that way as well. I'm not doing a very good job of summarising it, but I even though I've heard a lot about how good this book is, I didn't really know much about what actually happens in the book, except for the fact that it's a kind of a murder mystery where you know who dies on the first page, which I feel like that's pretty much what everybody says about this book. It's raining very, very heavily, so apologies if I'm a bit distracted. But yeah, as I said, I really enjoyed it. It's a very hard book to put down. It is one of those books that kind of takes over your brain when you're reading it. So for a similar reason to John le Carré, I don't really want to jump into a Donna Tartt rabbit hole, but she's certainly an author I'll be trying again in the future. And that's everything I've finished in November to date, so that's actually quite good. That's 4 books, I believe, finished in November. I'm still making some progress on a few other things. I've been dipping into Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. Currently at the section called Sea Drift. I've read some of these poems before, and I think I'm going to quite like them. There have been some sections where I've been rolling my eyes a little bit, because he does quite like to list, which is always funny in its own way. But it has been good, and it's pretty good reading for sort of commuting when you're out and about. I think that's kind of the right kind of energy to sort of bring to reading Walt Whitman. And I have managed to dip into this a few times. House of Government by Yuri Slezkine, and I'm again just getting a bit more of that big picture of the Russian Revolution. I think I'm currently in the early 1930s, and so it's very much sort of Stalin having taken over and really industrializing things, and just really trying to change everything as quickly and effectively as he can. So yeah, it has been quite fascinating, but it's a very, at least I'm feeling it's a very big picture thing, which is useful for me, for someone who doesn't know a lot of the details. So it's sort of filling in a few things for me and helping me piece together that sort of larger narrative of the Russian Revolution and its aftermath. And that's everything I'm working on. Very soon I'll be picking up Anna Karenina, which I'm very excited about. I think it'll probably be a little bit later this week that I'll pick that up. And if I do have time, while I'm reading Anna Karenina. I think I will pick up Call for the Dead by John le Carré, so I can read one more one more Cold War era le Carré novel. So yeah, Call for the Dead, this is his first novel, and it's a very slim thing, so I think I'll be able to sort of fit it in at some point later on in the month. And there we go, that is kind of where I'm up to at my reading so far. It's been a good month so far, and we'll see how it goes. I hope your reading has been good so far in November. Yeah, let me know if there's anything interesting, or if you have any annoying stories about your reading, or anything I don't know, anything you want. Just feel free to let me know. But I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.